Just sharing myself, yeah. So before I pass it on to Sister Dipty, she is a facilitator in her own accord, and we are so fortunate that she is with us for the first time, all the way from South Africa. A brief introduction about her. Sister has done her Bachelor of Arts from the university in South Africa, and followed by that, she's got a higher diploma in education. So she's got a lot of Lokik education background. And what I feel is, I contacted her and she immediately said yes. So her facilitation skills are indeed a big tool for encouraging people to come back to their inner core. And Sister Dipty basically is in this knowledge of Brahma Kumaris since the past 36 years now. And she's the coordinator at the Observatory Center for Brahma Kumaris in Johannesburg, the capital of South Africa. And much to my surprise, I must say, when I was looking at her biodata, I was really amazed to know that she has served as the national coordinator for the Living Values program, which was an educational program. I think it came from England, London, which is our international coordinating center, and she was the one instrumental in South Africa for conducting all the programs through that. And interestingly, she's also the youth coordinator and also coordinates the activities of the IYF, the International Youth Forum. And she performs a part of the core team for the International Youth Development Program. And she has conducted so many workshops and so many talks. I'm not going in those details, but just now I'll just finish this and quickly speak both the poem on compassion and on her together. So Sister Dipty's name itself suggests that she is full of divine light. I hope you know that Dipty is related to light. So full of divine light, taking the energy from Supreme, she sparkles and shines very, very bright. Today, on developing compassion in life, she'll give us her insight so that our every action is filled with full of might. That in turn helps us to battle our weakness with a victorious fight and help carrying on our daily task with love and light. Finally, our life will then become perfectly alright when we start loving the self, wearing the seat belt of life tight, not loose. So with this, thank you so much, Sister Dipty, for accepting our humble invitation to be a speaker for this, and with this I would pass it on to you. Over to you. Thank you.
So sorry. I think all interpreters, you have to unmute yourself, because I think when Brother Manoj muted, everybody muted. Okay. Now it's all ready. Thank you, sister.
Thank you, Manoj Bhai. It was a beautiful session for the hour, just unpacking compassion, and it's something that's very close to my heart. So I heard so much, and I really appreciated Brother Charlie's input. I have learned a lot myself from Brother Charlie and his dharana and his ability to put things into a very real way so that one can understand it and work with it for the self. So it's a beautiful moment to continue this journey with such profound sharings by Brother Charlie. So when I was thinking about the word compassion, and as you also heard that my background had been in education, so some of the examples that are going to come up this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are, for me it's 5 o'clock now in South Africa on a cold winter's afternoon, but it's a nice heartwarming feeling to be with all of you. So there were 5 words that I was introduced to when I was working with the Living Values program. And first, these words came up to me in a way as an educator, and I thought, well, this is something lovely to use. But as time went by, I really integrated them into my own life. I worked with it on myself. I worked with it with the people I live with. I stayed very much aware of it in my school environment. And then when my spiritual journey deepened, I very deeply found how these 5 qualities made me feel so whole. And when I look at these 5 qualities, they, for me, fall under the energy of compassion. And I think compassion has unpacked itself for me in a very, very practical way with these 5 qualities. And I'm sure those of you who may have been introduced to living values may have heard these qualities, but have created a very meaningful space in my life's journey. And these 5 qualities are that each individual needs to feel loved, understood, valued, respected, and safe. And I allowed these words to echo for myself because these words are very, very powerful and they can activate very powerful energies. And yet at times we can use these words and say, well, that's nice to hear. But I think over the years, I really took the time at a very honest level to work with these. And in my journey with values, my deep inspiration and support came from Dadi Janki. During the time when the program just started, I was very much encouraged by Dadi Janki, who we very fondly still deeply remember as the head of the Brahma Kumaris and had just passed on, but I feel she's so present still in my life at a very powerful level. She had really encouraged me to work with this values process and had been of great close support to me. And I'll repeat them, Harpreet. Each one needs to feel loved, understood, valued, respected, and safe. And as I worked with these qualities for myself to just deepen the moment, I realized that they bring out a part of you that creates a wholeness. And this is the journey of self-compassion. I cannot be kind to myself if I don't love myself. And that love comes from a deep, deep sense of acceptance. I can't be anyone else, and I don't have to project an image that is not true about me. But a very, very deep space within my being of real acceptance. And for me, that's the first act of care and compassion for the self. Very often within life's journey, there will be many things that happen. There will be many waves and a variety of things that come along our journey. But if I don't truly accept myself for who I am, just the way I am, then my journey can't really grow authentically. In this journey of compassion, we need to be authentic. But if I am so influenced by all the energies that surround me, and there isn't a sincere acceptance of the self, with a deep sense of love and a non-judgmental energy. Sometimes we can think of certain things on our journey, and then there's quiet thoughts that can come into the mind that creates critical thoughts and judgment. They may come from an echo of a past moment. But that deep, deep feeling within the self, that as I am, the way I am. My journey has begun. It's not a complacency. It's not that I've just settled to be something, but I've arrived at myself. And that from this point, I'm going to move forward. And so this first energy of love, and I think on a daily basis, in a very, very real way, we need to fill our hearts and our minds with this deep feeling of self-love. The second aspect is understanding. We've had many different journeys and we've had exchanges with many different people.
Sister, we are listening in Spanish. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's okay now. Yeah.
Okay. So when we look at understanding as well, understanding is a very deep space of compassion. You know, I remember Daddy Janki once saying very beautifully, how much does my heart understand the self? Do I understand me? Or there's a part of me that is still figuring it out. And I don't take enough time to unpack myself so that I can be with me. There are so many parts of oneself that at times we pack away and we behave in a certain way. And we think, well, that's me, what to do. But do I take time to understand me? There may be certain behaviors, there may be certain feelings that may come up. And the same way as we may deal with somebody else and we say, okay, talk to me. Let me understand where you're coming from. But how much do I do that for myself? How much do I take time? And I find one of the very practical tools, and this has helped me a lot in my spiritual journeys. At night, I don't go to sleep without journaling. It's an important part of my life's journey. And as I journal, I want to understand myself better. I want to understand who I am so that I can use the fullness of the capacity that I hold. You know, sometimes people say, you don't understand me. But I ask myself the question, do I understand myself? It's a great act of compassion for who I truly am. The third aspect of feeling valued. I think in the world, if you don't recognize your own value, you won't be able to offer the best of who you are. If a diamond doesn't know it's a diamond, it won't be able to shine its beauty. It will just think it's a stone. So often in life, there are situations that are people that may come along our journey. And as a result of that, we become self-compromised. We compromise ourselves and don't hold that self-respect. And that self-respect is not ego. You know, as we heard Brother Charlie talk about last week as well, it's a deep, deep space of acceptance, and particularly all these qualities that I'm talking about now, for me, they really get supported by God. How God really values me. You know, the other day, I think it was yesterday, one of my practices was just to feel that I'm a flawless diamond. I am a diamond at work. I'm work in progress, certainly, but I'm becoming a flawless diamond. And as I become a flawless diamond in that way, I can allow God's beautiful light to shine through me, creating beauty, so that I become clear and clean and like a prism through which God's beauty can shine. But if I don't value who I am, I can't allow truth and beauty to shine through me. If I really want to experience compassion, I have to have value for the self. And so it's a very beautiful aspect of journeying within the whole aspect. And then the feeling of respect. You know, if I really along my journey respect who I am, I will listen to the true needs of my being. Very often we say one thing, and if I do something else, there's a part of you that's going to say to yourself over and over, you always say these things, but you don't do them. And so when that begins to happen, it's like there's a part of you deep inside of you that's really not respecting you, because it doesn't believe that you do what you say. And then there's the fifth energy, and that's the energy of safety. And I find that it comes from a deep feeling of inner security. When you feel safe with yourself, you are real. Today in the world, when people don't feel safe with who they are, they have a lot of self-assertion, they have a lot of control measures, they have a lot of manipulation. They do many things to so-called protect themselves. They put on many masks. They have many images about themselves. But it's not something that makes them relaxed and comfortable and safe. Do I feel safe with me? Or there's a part of me that I'm not sure if something else about me is going to come up. So I find in this journey of compassion, for me, these 5 qualities, firstly towards the self, are very, very real. They help me grow into a space of real wholesomeness, to feel loved, to feel understood, to feel valued, to feel respected, and to feel safe. And you know, I often think in my own spiritual journey, over the years, we've had such beautiful mentors in the form of our daddies. And I think of Daddy Janki, I think of Daddy Prakash Mani, I think of Daddy Gulzarji. All 3 who have played a very vital role in my journey. How I have felt that their life was lived by these 5 qualities. And because their qualities were so clear and clean within the space, they had real self-compassion. And therefore, when you only have self-compassion for yourself in a real way, then you can have compassion towards others. I cannot offer deep, honest, sustainable compassion towards any other person. There will still be an expectation of a need if I haven't done the inner work on myself. And so I think part of it, Brother Charlie covered as well, and Brother Manoj summarized it. But I find for myself as well, along this journey, once I've deepened my own self state of being that is wholesome, I step back into my inner compassionate energy. Then it is from this space that I can be truly compassionate towards others. And so again, yes, these 3 words come up: sympathetic, empathetic, and compassion. And I want to just really clarify for me how this journey has worked. And so I have found over a period of time, when my energy got purified in intention, the compassion grew. So I may have in the beginning heard things, heard of people's pain. I may have seen a certain situation, and I acknowledged the pain and I acknowledged the situation, and from my heart I sympathized with it. And then I grew a little bit deeper into that space, and I may say, I understand, I can walk in the shoes with you. And so I've deepened the experience of empathy, which is a good feeling that I'll walk with you. But I found that compassion is such a powerful space. And I loved once what I heard somewhere, and it said that actually it was this morning, I'm thinking about it, and I was listening to Sister Caroline Ward as she was doing our morning class. And she was just saying that when there's compassion, I accelerate movement so that they can heal themselves. And that acceleration of movement brings them back to their own truth and beauty. And I really loved that experience because it had been my personal journey, and there was a deep resonance of what I then experienced compassion to be. I learned, especially in Southern Africa, working with children, particularly from vulnerable spaces. And as you heard a little bit of the introduction of Dipty, that she spent quite a bit of time with youth and in the education field. So I found that my journey grew within, and I had to purify this energy because I used to see children that came from really difficult spaces, and at times I would get so caught up. And I remembered that their journeys used to be such that I used to feel the empathy and I used to feel the pain. And how Brother Charlie said last week, that you can feel it, but there needs to be a level of detachment. And as time went by, I had to learn that. Because what begins to happen is that when there is a feeling that comes up, their pain that you see awakens some pain in a memory of your past. So you may say that I'm helping, but because it's created a resonance with something in you, you've stepped into it, but you haven't stepped in totally to serve them. You've stepped in because that's a need in you as well. And so that space has not been 100% clean space. And we see how these days many people, as their journey grows, they'll tell you that I used to help many people. But the reason I helped them, because I also had a desperate need inside. There was a mother at a children's home, and she was the house mother. And she was saying how everyone used to say, oh, you're so loving and you're so caring and you do so much and your compassion is great. And one day she and I were talking, and she was saying, I don't know how much of this is actually just for the children, but actually I'm in desperate need of love. I'm in desperate need of attention. I'm in desperate need of all these things that I'm offering to these kids. And so it's not a one-way thing. I'm feeling that as I'm doing this, it's feeding me. Now, if that happens in the beginning, it may be fine. But then if your children that you are looking after outgrow that, and they're not reciprocating that love and they're not reciprocating that care, then you feel frustrated. And then your expectation grows and say, I've done this for you. I have given all this love. I've given you all the support, but now you ignore me. So if that act of love and care came from a need that wasn't just only towards others, but actually a need for the self. When the need from the other side stops, you can feel a little bit vulnerable. And so I need to check as well, when I say I care for you, I love you, I want to do something good for you, how clean is my space? You know? And I find that very often connected with that, I become a rescuer. So I step into moments and I'm rescuing moments because it gives me a high, it makes me feel good, and I feel good. But this kind of energy is not sustaining over a period of time because situations go through their whole cycle. People go through from their birth to their growth, then they reach a point, and then a new cycle has to begin. Nothing lasts forever in that way. So if my so-called compassion is coming from that space, there will be a time where I'm going to feel vulnerable and feel frustrated and feel that it's not reciprocated. But that is why this third level, which we call compassion, compassion comes from a very pure heart space. I am in my self-respect. I feel loved, I feel valued, I feel respected, I feel safe. And it's from this space that I want to accelerate movement in you. This is what God does for us in any case. And I often think about my own journey, and I think how God has accelerated movement for me in my journey in such an amazing way. He's never rescued me, but he has often made me grow. You know, there's one thing, actually at times it felt like rescued, but God's way of supporting me is so sustaining. And I think, you know, the word in Hindi I often think about is karuna, you know, and that deep, deep compassion. I know these words were used quite often during the time of COVID as well. You know, Karuna and Karuna, Moini Didi, one of our wonderful teachers as well, shared a lot about that. And just that feeling that I stay in a high space because I've done the work on myself. I know I have God's support. God is sustaining me, and I'm doing the work on myself. And it is from this high space that I then can accelerate motion for you. So it's a very beautiful space. I often think about it and think how this journey is such a sustainable space. And really, when there's this kind of compassion, then I'm looking at the person as a whole. I'm not just caught up in the event. I'm not just caught up in the situation. But my compassion comes from a deep attitudinal space where my heart is generous and my heart is full of love. And I see a need and I accelerate that need. And when I mean need here, it's not about just doing things for people. Because beyond the obvious, there's something more that's happening. So when I can hear beyond that, I can see maybe the soul has a need for love. Maybe the soul has a need to feel safe. Maybe the soul's need is to feel more respected. So I'm hearing beyond the event. I'm seeing beyond the situation. And I'm responding to that need. That is real compassion. Because sometimes people don't even realize that their need is much more deeper than what they're screaming about. and what they're noisy about. And I need to be a compassionate listener. I'm going to invite you for just a few minutes of silence. You may hear some music in the background. So let's think about this moment of compassion, of accelerating movement. Yeah. Shake the dust from the stars tonight. Light a candle in my hand. Together maybe we could to change. Give to silver become the gift of gold. Deepest secrets will unfold. Night is shattered by the rising sun, and all the earth will sing the same song. Breathe on me, breath from love. Wrap the broken pieces of his heart. Find the voices, make them still. Hold the shadows back and I'm tired of fighting, words stood in my head. And all the dreams we lived unsaid. The sun is rising, now it won't be long. To all the earth will sing the same song. Breathe on me, breath from life. Shake the dust from the stars. Some of you may have wondered what this was. But at all our Brahma Kumari centers, we have a beautiful act of compassion, self-compassion, and that's called traffic control. So it's 5:30 here in South Africa. And so that music that you heard in the background was just to take a moment for the self and arrive back to the self and invite the beautiful presence of God and allowing God's love and light to shine on you and through you into the world. So thank you for joining me with that. But just that, really that feeling as I was talking about is really when I have that kind of compassion, I'm able to operate from such a space that is beyond the situation and beyond things to a very high space so that I can journey and develop as a whole. And one of the things that I find that is important in the journey of compassion is a peaceful mind and a loveful heart. I can't really know my own need or the need of another's or also God's presence in my journey if I don't become peaceful enough. That peaceful energy is a very silent energy that listens. Yeah. So I'm sure Manoj Bhai will put this traffic control on somewhere so you'll know about it. But it's a very interesting space that I can't really practice or operate from a space of compassion if I'm not silent inside, if my mind is not peaceful. Yeah. It's a very beautiful space to know that let me first create space. And it's creating this very peaceful space within my being. And then allowing the love that is already inside of us. Each one of us is actually a very loving being. It just may be sorrow and life's experiences that made us grumpy or closed in or all these kind of limited energies that may have stopped that love. Our love is very deep and real. When we feel loved, we feel healed, really. And so to allow that love to come out, love is there inside of you. For so much of your journey of life, love has been your friend. And so keeping the mind peaceful and the heart full of love is the method for compassion. Yeah? And just then, from that, I'm able to operate in a space. But then another quality that's needed so that my compassion is clean and supportive and sustaining is to be merciful from a very knowledgeable space. I think one of the things that I have learned in the Brahma Kumaris at a very deep level is how mercy can be so empowered when it's based on truth. And in our teachings, one of the most beautiful things that I have really appreciated is God's mercy for us is He gives us true knowledge. And so even in this journey of compassion, let me not bypass truth and wisdom, because otherwise emotion takes over and I can get carried away. And so let me have mercy. Let me act in that space that is filled with wisdom. And that means when I'm really helping someone, I'm really empowering them, and I'm not making them dependent on me. I'm not making them being carried by me in that way. And when I'm able to do that in a very real way, then I'm strengthening them. I remember a few examples, and I want to give you real examples at this point in my journey. There was a young child that was in my class, and he came from a very difficult situation. So he was very delinquent, and he used to cause a lot of trouble at school. Was very, very difficult with many of the educators, and his energy was extremely disruptive. And I remember watching this child, and I kept saying to myself, what is his real need? What is this need of this child? And let me step in from a space that is genuine. I don't want to just rescue this moment. What is the real need? And so one day when school was over and I sat on the playground and I knew he's around there. He was about a 14, 15-year-old young boy. And he looked at me, and by that time I was already a Brahma Kumari, and he knew that I meditated. And he came to me and he said to me, why are you still sitting on the grandstand? You must go home. I know you live in the center where many people need you. Why are you sitting here? Go home. And I looked at him and I said, because I want to give you some time. I want to be with you. And he said, me, I'm not valuable. Go home. Other people need you more. And I could feel that there was a deeper need. And in South Africa, many of the children I've worked with, their names actually mean many values. And because you may not know him, I can't say his name. And his name is Tembani. And Tembani means trust. And his middle name was Prince. And I remember I kept saying to him, I trust the prince in you. And he says, no, I'm not a prince. Leave me, I'm not a prince. But I had to change my attitude to have a higher vision for him and not see him with his disruptive behavior and not see him with all of that. And as I got to know him, I realized that one of the reasons for his disruption was since a child, he never came from a real functional home. He lived with a single parent mom. And over a period of time, the mom spent half her life in hospital. She was a sickly mom. And this child was just purely neglected and needed love and attention. And I knew that if he was given that kind of support, he would become someone. Because a bright, intelligent kid. But to know that I couldn't rescue him. I had to feed him with wisdom from a space of genuineness. And so with the teachings of the Brahma Kumaris, holding a high vision for him, always using his name and saying to him, I trust the prince in you. Just constantly elevating him through my attitude. And yes, putting certain structures physically in place, because you can't just do everything mentally. You have to create certain physical structures so that you create certain boundaries in which you can help. And so that mercy comes from a state of wisdom as to what I can do. So that over a period of time, he was empowered. The compassion came in an empowered state. And I remember, to cut a long story short, one day I met him years later, and he said to me, you know what, ma'am? I am the prince. I found the prince in me. And it was just such an encouraging moment for me to realize that, you know, when we see somebody's sorrow and we see somebody's pain, I can jump in there and try and rescue the moment. But it's not sustaining. I need to empower in such a way, and that mercy that I offer to that individual has to be in such a way. And then as I journey with that mercy, I have to make sure that I don't hold a past vision. You know, sometimes we go forward, but if we don't clean the past, it's like a movement that will pull you back again. And so in our journey with someone, when I really hold true compassion, I hold such a high vision of them that they have the power to release their own past. Let me provide such an atmosphere for a human being that they feel so loved and nurtured and safe, that in their growth, they have the ability to pass through their past. You know? So, you know, these stories are so deep, so I'm just also watching time. And so just that deep experience. And I remember something that came up very beautifully once that I had learned, and I had learned this from Dadi Janki, and she shared a 5-step process, and I worked with it. I used it in my own life, and I found it was such a beautiful process. And she was saying that in order for that compassion to really work, firstly, there should be kindness. And so today we were looking at kind acts, you know, things, and I've seen it in our organization as well. What do I do physically, whether it's for the self, whether it's for others, whether it's for the world, as kind acts? Maybe it's not wastage, maybe it's not creating violent moments, maybe being a good listener, but I do things as an act of kindness. And so that's my first step, you know. I found, like, even in the Brahma Kumaris, I saw when there was a drought in Mount Abu. They didn't just say, oh, well, let us have good meditation and Daddy Prakash Mani at that point of time made such a plan that there was tankers of water that came up the mountain and not only take care of the needs of the organization, but of the residents of Mount Abu. So certain times you have to act. You have to do things, but not stop at that moment of act. After that act, there needs to be empowerment. And that's really the mercy. And it's like that knowledgeful state with which I operate from. So sometimes what happens in our compassion is we just act, we do good. But if my goodness is not filled with empowerment, then I lock that person in my kindness. But I need to have such mercy that I lift them. And then the third step that he talked about is having blessings. And, for me, it's like really having this good wishes that may you be this, may you be this. It's like the heart is filled with good wishes and pure feelings that I see the highest in you and I believe in you and I hold this vision. One of the beautiful energies that I learned from the Brahma Kumaris and has worked a lot in my own life, and I felt it even from the Dadis, was this energy of good wishes and pure feelings. Often Daddy Janki used to say to me, do you feel my good wishes is working on you? And I could feel it. I know how much along my journey, it was like the highest vision that these souls held, even God held for me. That was like my blessing every day, to feel I'm blessed. And then the fourth aspect is then to offer current. Because sometimes people they know what they have to do. They know how they have to change. But in that moment, they don't have the strength inside. So if I have a connection with God, and if I feel that I would love to share these vibrations that God sustains me with, then I take that energy and I hold that individual also in God's presence. I don't have to give them my current. They need God's current, because what God can do for them is incredible. God's current is like a laser beam that reaches deep, deep within the soul. So it's a very beautiful feeling of just knowing there's kindness, there's mercy, there's blessings, there's current. And when these four operate, then my compassion for another individual is whole. So many beautiful aspects there. And I really loved recently when our sister Mohini, I think at the end of a month ago, she was sharing about compassion. And she shared something which I worked with very practically in my life as well. And she said, if you're a compassionate listener, listen what's the real need. And so it was something that I had been working with a lot for myself, for others, and also if I say I want to show compassion to the world, then beyond all the words and beyond all the variety of energies I may be exposed to really ask the question, what's the need? What am I? Listen beyond and in between the words to the real need. And if that's the need, you can rise to and serve, then that's compassion. And I loved it. I really did this work on myself and worked with the space, and it was very, very beautiful. So Manoj Bhai, I'm just watching time. I don't know, must I do questioning now, or it was, yeah, what you heard was just things of my heart and being taught by such wonderful souls like the Dadis and all these beautiful sustenance from God Himself. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I would just want to take one question. Someone was eager to ask this. What is the difference between love and compassion, if there is any?
For me, love is the seed and compassion is the expression of the seed. So for me, that it is, I can't express compassion if there's no love. So you have to have the seed of love within you for the compassion to be expressed.
Great, wonderful expression of your between love and compassion. Right. So I would now request Sister Claudia, who's the center coordinator all the way from Vancouver, to please propose the vote of thanks. And I would request other people not to leave because we'll have a group photo shortly after this. So you can leave after that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Dipty. It was so nice. I really enjoyed. And I took lots of notes. So it was very nice sharing. Thank you. I'm sure that everybody enjoyed today. And thank you for being with us. You were with us for the first time, but probably it's not going to be the last time because we really enjoyed today your company and your sharings, all your knowledge and values and everything. So thank you very much for being with us today.
Fine. Thank you so much, Claudia, sister. And I'll just quickly share the screen and tell you of our upcoming events. I won't take time. So here we go. We are all celebrating our very first administrative head of Brahma Kumaris. That's, we call her affectionately Mama. So the next episode is all about simplicity, which was a quality she exuded all the time. And it falls right on that day after Mama's Day of Remembrance on Saturday 25th of June. We are very fortunate. We have two speakers with us. I'll tell you the reason why two. It's a bonus for all of us. I'll tell you on that day. Let it be a surprise for the moment. So we have Santosh Didi, who is a very royal and simple soul, Director of Brahma Kumaris from St. Petersburg, and also the Joint Regional Coordinator, RC, for the Russian and Baltic region. And also another very simple and humble sister, Sister Deepa, all the way from Mumbai. So we'll be having the pleasure to listen to both these very simple souls speaking on simplicity, and right on next to Mama's Day. And after that, as all of you know, we have once a month retreat, silence retreat. So this month it's on compassion. So please be ready on 26 June for the same. The timings we'll notify you, but it's morning times for India and 8 to 10 p.m. late evenings for the west coast of US and Canada. And as always, followed by the talk, we have the workshop on simplicity. Another simple and pure soul with us, Sister Manda, who actually looks after the activities of the GRC, the Global Retreat Center in Oxford, which has apparently started functioning soon now, with all bhattis taking place over there. This will be in July, Saturday 2nd. And I may not forget to announce this because we were not able to cover the power talk last month because of Chandru sister's funeral at the same point of time when we were supposed to have it. So we are having in the month of July 2 powers we are yet to cover. The first one would be power to discern or discriminate. It will be on Sunday 3rd July, and we have with us another sister, Sister Sharona Stillerman, who is the director of Brahma Kumaris from Israel. And this is our elegant calendar, thanks to Kosha sister for devising it. This is the one in India times, and we'll send you the one in Canadian times and the emails. But we are getting so many people from different parts of the world. I feel we have to have calendars in all the different time zones. If it's possible, we'll do that sometime later. So I'll stop sharing here, and if I can request first all of you all to put your video cameras on so that we can have a photograph with Sister Dipty. And then we'll go in the meditation mode after we take the photograph. So over to Anu sister for the photo. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Dipty. We don't want to miss to have our photo with you. So everyone, you can open up your video if you haven't. Okay, so right now, one more page. We have so many people today. Yeah, got the picture. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, thank you so much, Anu sister. And then let's move into the meditation with Sister Dipty on compassion. And I'll play some soft music in the background. Is that okay? Yeah, okay. Thanks.
So, once again, I invite you into a moment of stillness, allowing the mind to become peaceful, and allowing the heart to awaken the love. I step deep within myself and become centered in the experience of this peace and love. I, the soul, am the child of God, the ever benevolent one, the one who holds true compassion. With the power of my mind, I journey to that source of pure love. This is a light of love that knows me, understands me, and accepts me for who I am. I allow the rays of God's light and love to shine on I, the soul. I accept that love. I absorb this pure energy. And in the still moment, in the silence, the heart feels full of love. In the connection with the divine, in the silent moment, with the generosity of my being, I allow God's energy to flow to those around me, into this atmosphere and out into the world. Compassion. The world needs compassion. It is love that gives birth to compassion. So I hold God's love. I allow that love to grow. And the compassion creates a healing energy for the world. Bringing back to lives a feeling of safety, a feeling of being understood, a feeling of being valued and respected. I continue to draw from God's pure energy and let this light and love sustain the world. I hold this energy powerfully. Love, mercy, forgiveness. I allow these energies to spread into the world. O Divine Being, I stay connected to the Source, for it is only in this space that true compassion can go into the world. Om Shanti.
So thank you so much for the splendid experience, and immense gratitude to all the translators for their tireless service, and all the way thanks once again to Sister Dipty from all of us here.
It's a pleasure. Our traffic controls were determined to be part of it, so if the music came on at
it was a beautiful
this time,
sitar music, yeah, it was nice, but yeah.
Yeah, it's our 6 o'clock traffic control. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Manoj Bhai. Thank you for the team. Om Shanti.